How's your salesperson working out for you? Good?
Yes,
Yeah? Okay, cool. Was he able to answer all your questions and everything for you?
he did. I've just been here about 3 hours now.
3 hours now? Okay. Well, we're going to try to make this go real quickly for you. Get you all signed, sealed, and delivered out of here. So, how's the car? Everything all right?
Everything's perfect on the car, super clean.
Okay, cool. All right. The main reason I'm asking you is because you're actually going to get a survey from Chrysler Jeep Dodge, okay? And a good chunk of those questions that are going to be on that survey are going to be about your salesperson. All right. So they're going to ask you a lot of questions about his product knowledge, how he treated you, and then your overall experience. Other questions that are going to also be on that survey is going to be about the car itself. So, was the car clean? Was it dirty? Did it have any damage on it? Did it have a full tank of gas? So I just want to make sure that all of that is taken care of for you. So before you actually leave here, do me a favor, just double check the car, do a quick walk around, just double check, make sure that it is clean on the inside and the outside, and it doesn't have any damage on it. If you do see something that concerns you, come back in here, let me know, so that way we can take care of it. If we can't take care of it for you right now, we'll put it on a WIO, and we'll schedule a time for you to come on back.
That's
Okay?
great.
Does that all make sense?
Yeah.
All right, great. Last question that they're going to ask you on that survey is, did anybody review with you the coverage that comes included with the vehicle? Now, the reason I'm asking you that is because the coverage has changed recently, so I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page here. So I could talk about it all day, but what is your understanding of the coverage that comes included with the car?
3 years of bumper coverage and a 5-year powertrain.
Yeah, okay, you are right. Now, that is the coverage that comes with it, but there are some limitations and some things that will and will not cover, so I just want to make sure we're all on the same page with that. So I'm going to start off on what's simple, the powertrain itself. So what you get with the powertrain is actually going to be your engine, transmission, drive axle, and that's going to be for 5 years or 60,000 miles, okay? Whichever one occurs first.
Okay.
Okay? Easiest way to remember this is internal lubricated parts. Basically, anything that's being touched by oil is going to be covered for 5 years or 60,000 miles, all right? The bigger part of the warranty is really going to be what you referred to earlier as going to be that 336, okay? Now, this is what a lot of people refer to as the bumper-to-bumper coverage. Even though it's shorter in term, it's bigger in coverage because that's where most of the car is at. So that's going to be your steering, suspension, electronics, air conditioning, all that stuff right there, all right? Now the coverage to the manufacturer is going to be called standard, limited, warranty. You can see that right on the window sticker of the vehicle out there. So standard in the automotive industry. So it doesn't matter what kind of car you buy, if it's Toyota, Nissan, Acura, Chrysler, Jeep, Dodge, whatever the case is, it's the same coverage all the way throughout, all right? Limited is that there are some things like I explained earlier that they will and will not cover, which is what I'm going to show you now. The first thing has to do with how the coverage expires. So this is going to be expiring due to time or miles, all right? So basically what that means to you is that if you drive 36,000 miles in 1 year, then you have a what?
1 year warranty.
Yeah, exactly. You got a 1 year warranty. Now the opposite is also true. So if you don't do that kind of driving, then you're going to get the benefits of all 3 years. So whichever one occurs first is how that coverage is going to expire, all right? Next thing has to do with what is actually covered, which is, in this case, the manufacturer is going to cover any breakdowns caused by defects in the material and workmanship. So if you're not clear about that, what that really means to you is that if the manufacturer built something wrong on your vehicle, okay, if they design something wrong on the vehicle, or if they install something wrong from the factory, they are going to cover parts and labor to fix that vehicle. Now, however, if it breaks for any other reason, unfortunately, that's not going to be covered, all right? Such as a silly example, like if you drive out of here, all right, and somebody cuts you off and you get, road rage and you punch the radio and you snap off the turn signal, then that's not covered, okay? That's just anger management, you need to calm down, all right? Next thing has to do with the maintenance, all right? Oil changes, tire rotations, things of that nature. Unfortunately, that is not covered by the manufacturer. However, that is absolutely required to get done. All right. Now, I'm going to ask you a simple question, which I'm sure you obviously know the answer to. But why do you think that the manufacturer absolutely requires you to do the oil changes on the vehicle?
Make sure the engine stays running.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. That 5 years, 60,000 miles that I was talking about earlier, internal lubricated parts. So if anything breaks on here, the first thing the manufacturer is going to do is they're going to ask you, hey, did you change the oil on the car? Okay. If you haven't, well, there's the bill. You're going to be responsible for it. Okay, if you have changed it and you still have failure there, then it falls back on the manufacturer where did they build, design, or install something wrong on the powertrain to cause failure there. That's how it would get covered. Okay, so that's basically how that works, right? Next thing is going to be the tire and wheel of the vehicle. Unfortunately, no manufacturer, doesn't matter what kind of car that you buy, Nobody covers the tire and the wheel, right? And that's where most of the wear and tear is going to happen. And you're already familiar with the roads around here. The roads are terrible. Okay, you get a lot of potholes, a lot of construction, a lot of debris on the road from car accidents, like broken glass, car parts, nails and screws that fall off of construction vehicles, things like that. So if you pick up a nail or screw and you pop that tire, unfortunately, you're going to be responsible for that. All right, hit a pothole, you bend out that wheel or you crack it. Okay, unfortunately, that's not covered either. All right, does that make sense?
Yeah.
All right. Next thing, I know it sounds like a lot, but we're almost done. This has to do with any kind of damage caused by the environment, all right, such as the paint, interior, and then rust. All right. Now the manufacturer does give you coverage for rust if it rusts from the inside out. Now, if it rusts from the outside, like a rock chip in the paint that starts rusting from that spot, unfortunately, that's not covered. Okay. The exterior and the interior, well, on the exterior, anything caused by acid rain, bird droppings, tree sap, sand abrasion, if that damages the paint, that's not covered. Now, I'm sure you've seen the cars when they come from the factory, they're coming with all the plastic wrap on the outside. They do that to protect the vehicle. So that's basically your warranty. And then once it gets here, once we tear that off, the car's pretty much, you're on your own at that point. When it comes to the interior, obviously you know that if you eat on the inside of the vehicle and you stain it, unfortunately that's not covered either, all right? Now this is where most of the value of the vehicle comes from. The better that the vehicle looks on the exterior and the interior, the more that car's going to be worth in the long run. All right, makes sense?
Yeah.
Last thing has to do anything with your insurance company. Now you told me earlier that you had who? State Farm? Is that right?
Geico.
Geico? All right. So basically anything that Geico covers, that's not covered by the manufacturer. So any dents and dings, chips or cracks in the glass, if you lose the keys, unfortunately that's not going to be covered by the manufacturer. If you total out the vehicle, you got negative equity, unfortunately that's not covered either. All right. So does that all make sense?
Absolutely.
All right. So this is pretty standard in the automotive industry, like I mentioned before. So it really doesn't even matter, what kind of car that you buy. It's the same coverage all the way throughout. All right. Now the reason I'm showing you all this also is because when you leave here, you're buying a brand new car. All right. 2017, insert manufacturer here. Right. So that car's got 15,000 brand new parts. Okay. But all those parts have to come together. Right, just like when you build a brand new house, a new building has to settle in. Sometimes it makes some moaning and groaning, or the windows come out of adjustment. Same exact thing is going to happen on the car. All right, some people experience this, some people don't. All right, so we understand that. So just to give you an idea, for the first year or 12,000 miles, you're going to go through what we refer to as an adjustment stage. All right, so those 15,000 parts, if anything comes loose out of adjustment, you can take it into the dealership, and we're going to go ahead and readjust that vehicle for you for free. All right. Now, my personal example is that I bought a minivan for my wife. 6 months after I bought it, the door hinge came loose on the passenger side. The bolts just kind of backed out, and the door wouldn't close right anymore. So I took it into the dealership. They tightened it up. They readjusted the door. I never had an issue with it after that. That's an example of an adjustment. Okay. Second stage that you're going to go through is going to be out until the end of that bumper-to-bumper coverage, which in this case is going to be that 336. All right. So that second stage that you're going to go through is what we refer to as a gas and go stage. Okay. At that point, the car's fully adjusted. All right. And pretty much what we're only expecting to do is pretty much put gas in the car and then take off the gas and go stage. All right. If you do have any kind of issues, most of the time it's usually something very minor, and that the 336 will pick it up at that point. The last stage is the stage that nobody wants to talk about. Okay. This is one that everybody's in denial about, but it's a very realistic stage. And at that point, you become 100% responsible for anything and everything that happens to the vehicle once you're beyond that 336 or once you're beyond that bumper-to-bumper coverage. All right. So, after looking at all this, okay, now if it was me buying this vehicle, all right, 2017, just because I know how sophisticated and much more modern the car is than what it used to be, if I was buying this car and the manufacturer called me up and they said, Eddie, what do you want to do about this 336? Okay, because right now, it's right here, beginning stages of the vehicle where the car's pretty much brand new, right? You're probably not going to get a lot of use out of it there. Do you still want to keep it there, or do you want to pick it up and have it start over here, where you're probably more likely to use it? Now, me being a logical thinker, I'd be like, yeah, all day long, have it start right there. The problem though is if I did do that, then that would make me responsible for anything that they left loose from the manufacturer, such as that door hinge I was explaining. So there really is no perfect scenario unless you had coverage all the way through, which is the point I'm trying to make. Let's take that 336, okay, and let's push it out to a comprehensive 675, all right? And this is exactly what it's going to cover, all right? So it's going to be just like the manufacturer. We're going to cover everything that they cover, plus a little bit more. And being said that we're going to cover the engine, the transmission, the front or rear wheel drive system, okay, your steering, suspension, the brakes. The only thing with the brakes we're not going to cover is going to be the pad and the rotor, but we're going to cover your ABS, the back in place hydraulic components, things like that. Seals and gaskets, otherwise there's oil leaks, electronics, air conditioning, all your power windows and locks. All right, it's going to automatically come with roadside assistance. So I know a lot of customers say that they get that through the insurance company, but it does make sense that these two come together in case somebody doesn't have it. So what we're going to do is we're going to automatically tow it to the nearest repair facility for you. All right. We're going to come out and put your spare on if you get a flat tire, so that way you're not on the side of the road trying to put the tire on yourself, especially in the winter. You know what that's like around here. If you run out of gas, we're going to come out and bring you gas, so that way you don't have to walk to a gas station. All right. We'll unlock the vehicle, and then we'll jump start it. The batteries are dead. Now, this policy you can use it at any repair facility all throughout the United States. Obviously, we want you coming back to the dealership first because we can plug in the computers and all that stuff. But if you are forced to go to a different repair facility and they don't have a car for you to drive and it's going to take 3 days to fix the vehicle, we're going to automatically include a vehicle for you to drive, so that way you're not out of a car. Because life still goes on. You still got to go to work. Still got to go get groceries. Got to still pick up the kids from practice, whatever the case is. Right? You can't be without a vehicle. Now, the coverage that I'm going to quote you is going to be the Platinum Plan. The reason being is that this is the most comprehensive coverage that I have available. All right, and being said that this is built for the modern car. All right, so what this is going to cover all onboard computer sensors and relays, which this vehicle has a ton on. This is going to cover your navigation systems or your touch screens that are equipped on the vehicle, such as like your touch screens on the AC, heating, air conditioning, or maybe the navigation system itself. And then lastly, I'm pointing out the tire pressure monitoring system. The reason I'm pointing out those three out specifically is because when that type of electronic fails, or that type of technology fails on this vehicle, it's kind of like your cell phone, okay? Nobody's gonna open it up and solder and rewire and fix it for you. They're gonna basically, it's gonna be a burnt out component. So we're gonna take it out of the car, we're gonna toss it in the trash, and we're gonna replace it with a brand new part. All right. So this is going to cover two types of repairs on the repair spectrum. A very expensive part like a navigation system where it has cheap labor because you're just simply kind of plugging it in, tightening up a couple screws. And then on the other end, a very expensive labor, like a labor-intensive job, cheap parts like I mentioned earlier when it comes to a seal and gasket, where you take apart a bunch of components to get to a $3 gasket, which is typically an engine transmission job. So the quote that I put together for you is going to be right here. All right, and then just pretend this is your menu, your preferred, and so on. So basically, Mr. Customer, everything that you're not going to be covered through the manufacturer here, the maintenance, the tire and wheel, the service, taking that 336 and pushing out to 6 year, I'm going to go ahead and include it right here. All right.